welcome back to another episode of Open Shutter, April 24th, I believe, 2024. So maybe that has some good luck in it or something. I'm not sure. But have the pleasure of welcoming Christine onto the program. So thanks very much, Christine, for jumping on this thing.
Thank you. I'm really grateful.
Yeah, for sure. You guys, if you're not following Christine on Instagram, I really highly suggest you do, because we were just talking offline about this podcast that we're about to do, and Christine asked me, like, where do I want to take it? And I was telling Christine, like, I kind of like the philosophy of Christine's approach to just making things, taking photos, and kind of like telling the story, because I think we kind of get lost in the rat race of just kind of making content, and I don't think we kind of dive into, why we do what we're doing, and like kind of like the back end of it, if you will. So anyway, we can dive into that eventually. But Christine, for the people that maybe don't know who you are, maybe a quick intro about yourself.
Yeah, I've been doing photography since the age of 16.
Yeah.
So took a class in high school, had an amazing photography teacher,
Nice.
John Shoveler, may he rest in peace. But he was one of those teachers that if you were passionate about what he was passionate about, then he would just kind of pour every bit of knowledge he had about photography into you. So that got me hooked pretty fast. I realized I could create with the click of a button.
Yeah.
And a simplified view of photography, but yeah, I could create with a click of a button, and that really appealed to me. So was a stay-at-home mom for 18 plus years, and during that time really dabbled in just about everything photography wise, made fine art cards at the very beginning, opened a small business where I was doing portraits and weddings, had the privilege of doing the wedding for a friend of the family over in the UK. And then got to work for the city of Hamilton for a couple of years, was contracted to photograph all of the green spaces in and around the greater Hamilton area for the parks department. So I guess the outcome was that they would have a visual archive of the way they were transitioning into certain gardens and parks and stuff like that. And shout out to Marcy over at Gage Park in the greenhouse. She gave me a chance to really explore what it meant to work for a client, which was a big deal for me. So, and then after that, kind of took a step back from photography for a number of years due to a health issue, and then was starting to pick it up again right before lockdowns. So now I'm creating photographs for myself, and I'm excited to see where I can take that. So
well, what a journey. It all came from like high school, right? Which is great, right? Like for me, like I didn't start until like way past high school. So I always think to myself, man, like imagine Paul if you started in high school, but I never did, right? So just kind of like a timing thing. Like everyone has their own kind of timing in life. Like whatever happens. I just think sometimes things are meant to happen for a reason. But it's great that like you started back then, right? It's really great because you said you have such a long journey.
Yes, and I think when you're young like that, you're okay with absorbing not just the rules and the principles of making good art, but you're capable of stripping all the normal things away. I remember I would go out and shoot with another student, and he was very into just pointing out the obvious. There's a cool car, there's a cool tree. But I was already seeing things in terms of shape and line and contrast and balance. And that came because even as a kid, I loved art. I would watch Bob Ross on TV with my grandfather, and Ernie Coombs, Mr. Dress Up, who would sketch at his desk, and all of those things light a fire in a kid, right? So you can already start to use all of that. And I think too, it helped that I learned on black and white film.
Mm,
because you couldn't rely on color for a photograph to be sensational. You had to rely on actual elements of design to stand out or to pop
right.
and to get someone's attention. And so for 2 years, learning on black and white film meant that I had to work inside this box of black and
Yeah.
white. And how do you make a splash
Mm.
when there's no color? So
Did
that
you,
was really crucial training. I can't. Uh, I'm really blessed that I had that at a young age.
we should all get started that way,
I think
especially
so.
these days.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you did you like that process? Like, was it fun for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think because it was hands on, you got to see your print all the way through to loading the film into the camera, to
Mm,
developing your own film, to printing your own images, to matting and mounting your own images,
yeah.
and then getting the feedback from an actual photographer
Yeah.
over and over and over again. Like the the whole process was very physical and tangible.
Mm,
And even now when I make images, I think I edit and process with the look of film in the back of my
yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Naturally, I don't realize I'm doing it until someone points it out. Hey, Christine, are you using film? Because you look like you're using film. And I'm like, no, if I won the lottery, I would have a dark room.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
digital.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you just kind of like have, I guess, like maybe like habit, I guess, of just kind of like going, using that approach,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
using film. Like I've spoken with like a few like film people on this podcast, and they just say it's a totally different experience.
It is. It is.
Like it's more, like you said, it's more tangible. Like you gotta, also you don't get that instant gratification of like seeing the picture like right away. You actually have to like wait.
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
kind of have to wait for it, which is kind of it's a different thing these days, waiting for something, right?
it is.
We're so used to not waiting. So I think
Yeah.
there's like a definite thing to it, there's a
It gives
definite
you a
feel.
foundation for your
Mm,
creative process moving forward. You
yeah,
understand how to appreciate the process, right?
yeah,
And so your work becomes not just, hey, look what I can do with camera. It's your work becomes,
yeah,
here, let me present something to you that, might make your day or might
yeah.
inspire or inform even.
Yeah, I think it goes beyond just like making content, because we always hear like making content. You're a content creator. Everyone's a content creator, and
Yeah.
it kind of loses its thing. Like, well,
Yes.
okay, well, I guess if everyone is, then what am I? Like, it's just. I was kind of thinking about this the other day of like, if you ask like a chef, like, what does he do? He cooks food. Okay, well, what is it? Like, what do you
Yeah.
actually cook? Like,
Yeah.
explain to me, right? I
Exactly.
kind of like think of that way as like a content creator. It's like, well, no, like some days, no, I want to be called like an artist. Okay, so what is
That's
that?
right. Yes.
I think
Yeah.
using like the film approach, I think is more of an artistic thing, because you're pouring more of yourself into it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy to take digital for granted,
it
right?
is, it
Yeah,
is, it is, and
yeah.
I think,
So I think that's why then it's so important to constantly think about your own process, because
yeah,
all of the outside influences that add to how you feel about what you see visually and what stops you in your tracks, and then how you
oh
want
yeah,
to capture it. I mean, all of that's kind of thread together in your actual being, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
when you don't when you don't take the time to really think about why is it I'm even making photographs,
sure, sure,
you lose something
yeah,
in the middle of that's really important to making art your way for you first
yeah,
before anybody else.
yeah,
Like you were saying about content is for other people first,
mm,
right? But I think art, uh, good art, and that's a poor label. I mean, art is subjective,
sure,
but I feel like impactful art, maybe let's use that term,
yeah,
um, is impactful because there's deep layers underneath.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, true, true. Yeah, and it kind of going back to like what you said about making stuff for yourself. I think I think it's huge these days. They're just trying to make it for yourself,
Mhm.
that's and that's what it's really all about these days. Is just being able to do that and being proud of what you make, regardless of like how it does in like
Exactly.
the internet world, which
Yeah.
who knows these days, right?
Yeah, yeah. The internet is one click and moving on, and
Yeah, like,
to even say you have an audience on Instagram or Facebook or anything is very,
yeah,
um, it's temporary.
yeah.
Um, the things that last are the people that constantly reach out to you
Mm,
when your work touches them or your words touch them, which is what I've kind of started to do when I post an image to Instagram. I'm trying to add something to the discussion,
yeah, no,
um,
yeah, I was just definitely gonna mention that
because
too.
the discussion is what's important. It's what pulls everybody through
Yeah,
um, into wanting to keep creating and even making something better than you've already made. That internal dialogue. When you start talking about it with other people, you realize everybody else is struggling with the same thing.
huge.
Um, everybody's trying to make art that matters, hopefully. Um, but yeah, the creative process is fascinating to me.
It is, and it never ends.
No.
Like to me, it's like you're never not working. Like there's always something to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
The
there's always
learning is
something,
constant.
and it's constant.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's why I like your approach of kind of going behind the curtain and kind of like taking more of like an analytical approach to like why we do it. Like I love this post about your post about devotion, right? And
Mm,
discipline. I love that.
yes.
I think that's freaking fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Like it's
Yeah. These are conversations I have in my head, when I'm trying to work on myself and not just, what I'm gonna take a picture of next. So, I journal a lot. I
mm,
know a lot of other artists do too, and I think as a photographer, journaling is an interesting way to make sure you're not taking your own work for granted.
okay.
But you start having conversations with yourself about
Mm,
what needs to change, what direction you like going in, why are you afraid to try something new, or why you haven't returned to something you used to be good at, how you feel about trends, like all of those things inform your
mm,
journey. And when you journal, you can look back and see how far you've come
100%.
with your own creative process,
100%.
which is a lot of fun sometimes and a little scary.
Yeah, to me, it's like if you're not like a little bit uncomfortable, then you're not trying to push yourself enough.
Yes,
You know what I mean? Like,
definitely.
you know, if you kind of get in like I'm totally guilty of this too, but if you just kind of like stay in your comfort zone, just kind of like doing the same thing, you know, speaking for me personally, like it gets kind of boring.
Yeah,
I just,
yeah,
okay, I'm gonna post something up, we're gonna make a video, gonna do a photo, okay, and then post
yeah,
it, then move on to next. But there's no, I don't know how to describe it. There's no friction. There's no
yes,
like internal engagement or
yeah,
dialogue. You're just kind of like going through the motions, like you're in like a factory, you know? It's like
yeah.
okay,
There's nothing to stretch you, right? You need stretching.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's interesting because even when you talk about what influences you as a creator, or as a photographer, as an artist, whatever name you want to use, um, it's interesting how many people don't explore outside their own genre or their own medium, um, and allow those things to inform their creative process. So
mm,
I'm surprised at the amount of photographers that don't know who some of the up and coming painters are, sculptors, musicians, even
mm,
poetry can inform your creative process.
right,
Um, and uh, I, for instance, I think because I'm such a visual person, film really engages my creative process.
like
There
movies.
are cinematographers that know how to shoot really beautiful
Yeah,
images, and sometimes they're mainstream. Like I think of the Alex Rider series on Prime.
yeah,
It's shot really artistically when you pay attention to it instead of the story. But other films like Skyfall, um, and the Lake House. I don't know if you've ever seen the Lake
Yeah,
House,
yeah, I've seen it.
but they feature a lot of architecture and city scenes. And um, I don't know about anybody else, but I actually paused all of those shots
Did it.
in the middle of the
Screenshot it?
movie.
Screenshot
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
to study them, because whoever was shooting it, and I can't recall at the time, but they loved to use these big, wide, open spaces, and it was very effective,
Mm,
because then it would contrast with the little lake house that they would frame the actors in, and the contrast visually was so nice. And
yeah.
so I journaled about that one day. I
Good.
wrote stuff down and went, okay, how do
Nice.
I apply this? This excited me to see it. How do I apply that myself to my own images?
Interesting. Like, I wonder how many photographers journal. I don't know how many do.
I don't know. There goes my screen again, by the way. Sorry,
Yeah, that's
everybody.
okay. It's not live until
um,
there's a tech issue. That's my motto.
okay.
um, yeah, like it's a good point about journaling. Like, I think definitely these days you hear a lot about journaling just for life in general. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it definitely can help out because it's just kind of like there's something about putting pen to paper that's different from just typing on the keyboard.
Totally.
You kind of feel more connected to like what you're thinking,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's a good point that you make about journaling, about kind of trying like look at different mediums and try to get inspired in different ways, like instead
Yeah.
of just going on Instagram and just scrolling for half an hour and well, let's see what's
Scrolling
under
is
this hashtag.
so yeah, scrolling is mindless, right? Like, and it's
Could
okay
be.
to
Yeah,
do. I'm not coming down on it. Sometimes you need to give your brain a break.
yeah,
But and sometimes you find things while you're scrolling that really, really inspire
yeah,
you. Or, and I don't know if anybody else does this, but like on Instagram, you can create bookmarks, right? And
yeah,
folders.
sure.
And I love to create a folder called Try This. And
Try this.
it's,
Okay.
yeah, and it's where I save other people's work that have made me stop and go, oh, I've never approached it this way before. I gotta try this. And then the next time I'm feeling like, gosh, I don't know what to do today. I don't know where I want to aim my camera. I don't
Yeah,
know what I want to make. I
yeah,
can pull that folder up and go, oh, I'm gonna try some of
yeah.
thing. I'm gonna play.
Oh, it's almost like a Pinterest board, but on
Pretty
Instagram.
much. Stay-at-home mom, see? It
Good
works.
idea though. I don't think everyone knows that you can do that on like on IG.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
I don't
you
I don't
can
think everyone knows that.
entitle, yeah, you can title your save folders, and you have them there. I have another one for locations, just for
Yeah,
locations.
locations. Yeah.
Things that I've thought, oh, I didn't know that existed. Now I want to go photograph it. Stuff like that. So
Okay.
yeah. Yeah,
Interesting.
you can use your social media as a
Good.
tool.
Yeah. You just gotta be
Um,
intentional about it
that's right.
and
Yeah.
not just kind of like just scrolling
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yeah,
it's tough though. It's definitely easier said than done these days. So
it is.
you sort of
Yeah,
need a plan or something in your head to like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this for 10 minutes and see
that's right.
and kind of put a timer on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's good. I like it. These are, I mean, these are good tips. I don't think people, if you guys are getting something out of it, just definitely send Christine a note and just give her a big thanks. Like do you like know anyone off the top of your head that you found really helpful or like insightful or like inspiring off Instagram or other
There's a
social media?
couple that are easy to find on Instagram.
Yeah.
So Sean Tucker
Hmm.
from
Yeah.
England.
Yeah. He
Uh,
has a great YouTube channel.
oh my
Very
gosh.
very philosophical.
Yes.
Philosophy.
And
Yeah.
his work too, he's not afraid to show, he's not afraid to pivot. He's not afraid to change things up, whether his audience is fond
True.
of it or not. He's like, nope, this is what I'm doing now,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I really like.
Yeah.
Someone like James Popsis, who
Right.
also has a great
Right.
YouTube channel.
Yeah.
David Duchemin,
Hmm.
who's, an iconic humanitarian photographer, but his writing, especially about the creative process, I think I own I pretty much own every single one of his books, I think.
Nice.
And they're highlighted and underlined, and
Yeah.
because he was the first one, when I was worried about gear,
Yeah.
because I was a stay-at-home mom and couldn't afford to buy new gear. He was one of the first big photographers to come out and say, like, gear is okay, but your creative vision is what counts. And when I heard that, that
What
really
does that mean?
freed me from worrying about, well, my camera's 15 years old, and you know, I don't know when I'm going to get my hands on another one, and what does this mean for what I do? And then I kind of took it on as a personal challenge. Let's see how long I can use this crop sensor camera for, and see what I could do with it. And nobody has ever once stopped me and said, "Christine, I can tell you're using an old camera."
Nope. No one says that.
No.
No one
And
says
everything prints fine. Like, it just goes to show that yes, gear is important by all means, but what you do with it is what matters. So
yeah, gear is important to what you're trying to do.
exactly.
Like if you're doing wildlife, don't use like a 16 mil. It's not gonna
Yeah.
work.
Yes.
That's when gear matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a good point. Like, and just in terms of, like, to me, like, the hardest part is just to keep going.
Yeah.
Some days, like, it's
Yeah.
really difficult, especially when you get like imposter syndrome or whatever the case is. Like, no one's seeing your stuff. It's like, well, why am I?
That's right. Yeah. It's that's everything. Everybody struggles with that, right? Oh, sorry, I've lost you.
Back? Are we back? Testing
Oh,
1, 2,
we're
3.
back.
Testing 1, 2,
Yep.
3. Okay.
Yep.
Like I said, it's not live until there's a tech issue. No, I was just saying, like, people that are kind of going through imposter syndrome, or they're just kind of going through like a phase of like, oh, no one's like seeing my stuff. Like, why even bother? Giving like tips for people that
Yeah.
are kind of going through that mindset.
Yeah. I think the very first thing we have to do to get over being self-conscious or worried that we're not measuring up or having imposter syndrome, I think, is to make sure we really are making art for us first. What is it bringing to the table for you? I battle with chronic depression. So photography for me is actually one of the tools I use to cause that to take a back seat and allow the creative side of my brain to start functioning. It works every time. Put a camera in my hand and my depression says, oh, okay, I'm out of here for a bit. So we make art for us. Art is what should feed us. It should energize us. And I think if we're focused on what is my art doing for me, and how can I get it to serve others, I think the minute that happens, then our focus isn't on, do other people think I'm a photographer? Do other people think I'm a good artist? You're always going to have people that don't like your work. So the key is to find the people who do and engage with them. And I think that's why I've chosen to start posting the way I'm posting, because there are people eager to engage. They're in my direct messages and a lot, and we're having actual relationship. We're having conversation. And the minute that happens, everybody's kind of on the same playing field, and nobody's worried about, oh, do I qualify as a photographer right now? Nobody worries about
the guard
that.
Comes down. The guard
Exactly.
comes down. Yeah.
And art should always bring people's guards down, I think.
Should.
So I try to do that with my photographs. It's one of the reasons why I love photographing big, wide scenes with really open compositions, because I feel like it allows you to actually approach the photograph and not just get hit in the head by it, if that makes sense.
you wanna gradually steer them into the shot.
That's right. I want them to walk
So
into the
something
shot
like
and
this
look
at Covent Garden.
around.
Yeah, something that's like Covent Garden.
This is, I
Yeah,
think, maybe one of my favorite photographs ever.
yeah,
Um, and I loved the color on the walls, and I loved the architecture itself.
yeah,
And it's full of natural light.
yeah,
But it also has a kind of cool energy because people feel like they're coming in to a protected area with that roof over it. It's still open air,
mhm,
but it's got a roof, and so people kind of, they relax and they seem less stressed, and they're shopping and they're eating,
yeah,
and I didn't have a lot of time to explore the area. I was with other people at the time,
okay.
and I, for whatever reason, I took about 5 minutes while they were shopping. I just stood there and let it wash over me how grand this section of Covent Garden was.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I couldn't even back up. There was a railing right behind me. I
Mm,
couldn't I couldn't back up
try to
any
get as much as
further.
possible in the shot.
So
Yeah,
I had to compose with what was right in front of me. That's what I had to use. And so I did my best, and it wasn't until I got home I realized the little details had also pulled together with the
yeah,
no feeding the birds signs, but the pigeons are sitting right there waiting to be fed. And there's
love it.
two teenage guys giving glances to the two girls on the
Yeah,
other side.
you're
And
busted, buddy.
it just has an energy to it that I really, really love.
Yeah, it's great when it all comes together
Yeah,
after
because
the
it
fact.
so often it does not.
No, eh? Yeah,
No.
it's it's you can't take a bad shot in London though. That's my thing.
No, yeah, yeah,
There are always good shots over there. I
yeah,
like London too. It's a great spot for
yeah.
like
It's
photography.
got such a great energy. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I've been there a few times, so
nice.
it's quite the. I mean, do you have a fave spot over there to shoot in London? Or you gotta,
I love Regent Street.
okay. Yeah, I think you
Um,
posted one of those too.
uh, yeah, I think there's probably a
This one?
couple up there.
Yeah.
Um, I have so many more, but yeah, I basically spent a whole day on Regent Street because I just, again, I love architecture,
Yeah.
and I'm starting to post my architecture more on Facebook. I
Mm,
initially, when I started this account, it was during lockdowns,
okay.
and I used my photography to kind of escape all of the stress of all of that. So my early
Mhm.
images on Instagram are all back road shots out in the
Ah.
country.
Ah.
And that was my release during all of that for the next couple years. You could go out there, drive along a back road, pull over at the side of the road,
Yeah.
step out
It's all they're
onto the
allowed to
side of the
do.
road
It's
and
all you're
get
allowed to do.
shots of the big, wide open, clean
Yeah.
spaces, and not have to worry about masking and all of that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And it just kind of felt so good to get out there. So that was my therapy, was to do back road shooting for the entire,
Wow.
time of lockdowns. And so just recently I've realized, no, it's time to get back to my first love is city stuff. So here we go.
That's good. It's good
Yeah,
they kept going during that time because it's, very easy not to do it,
yeah, yeah.
But,
Yeah, it
as you
was
said,
easy to think, "Oh, well, I guess I'm just not gonna exercise this part of my life right now," and I thought,
yeah,
"No, it's too important to my mental health,
of course. Yeah.
and to who I am. I can't not have a camera in my hand." So,
That's why you have it in your bio.
yeah,
It it
yeah,
makes it makes perfect sense now. It makes perfect
yeah.
sense. Um, no, it's great. I'm just seeing if I can pull up maybe a quick maybe you can kinda steer me back to maybe those photos during lockdown there. Maybe
They'd be, yeah, uh, there we go, some of those and even further back.
further down, yeah.
But there we go. We've got country roads
Eh,
and
something like that.
pictures I took on hikes. This is a beautiful tree out near Shakespeare,
Oh, yeah?
Ontario.
Ah.
And a friend and I went out back, and we were a little disappointed. We're driving roads and it was just teeming down rain. And didn't matter how many garbage bags or raincoats we had. We were getting soaked and we were getting a little frustrated. And we rounded this bend in the road, and this field was there, and a patch of fog had just landed on everything. And it was,
Man, what a mood.
yeah.
It's almost like Shakespeare's gonna come out himself and do a little
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, the tree had so much character, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So parts of it look a little battered and beat up, and yet it still had all its fall color trying to show itself off, and that clean slate behind it just softened everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, we spent a lot of time around that tree.
No doubt. You got to. You need to.
Yeah.
Reviews for nerds. I may miss this, but what do you shoot with? Is that for me, Christine?
I'm using Nikon.
Shout out Nikon.
And for this shot, it was just a Nikon D80 crop sensor. I believe it was my 55 mil wide angle zoom.
Okay.
Yep. I'm pretty sure I had it open all the way to 18 millimeters. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Hopefully that answers the question of reviews for nerds. And please give us a good review.
Hey,
please give us a good review if you're actually reviewing this podcast right now.
That's funny. Yeah. No, Nikon. I love Nikon. Although I would love to get my hands on either a Sony or a Lumix. At some point. Yeah.
Do you have a preference for either?
Or? Here's what I've noticed about the Lumix. And I mean, 4 years ago, they come out with the G9. Yeah. And what I've noticed is nobody is selling their G9s yet. And that's been 4 years.
I have a G7.
There you go. It's a great camera. And if people aren't selling them used, it means they're hanging on to them. And that tells me that's a good piece of gear to shoot with. So that's why it'll probably be what I switch over to as soon as I have the money. Yeah.
Interesting. Gonna change brands. Nikon. If you're watching this, you may be listening.
Nikon, step it up.
Nikon better get their act together, because I know they just bought red, but man, come on.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see when the time comes.
I have both. I have an Nikon. I have Nikon. I have Lumix. Now I'm on Canon. I'm all over the place.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And it's whatever feels good in your hand. I will never count Nikon out, because they seem to be able to build a comfortable body. Yeah. And I have no problem holding it for hours at a time and using it, all day. My hand is fine afterwards. So
it's important detail.
Yeah.
Don't go by just the specs. Make sure you hold it in your hand and
exactly. Yeah. Well, so many places you can rent, obviously, a camera for a week and try it out and see, what works for you. You never know where they're going to put buttons next, or how lenses are going to feel. So you got to do your homework, because you're spending a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You got to ask yourself, do you need it or do you want it?
That's right.
Very, very two distinct questions,
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So, so all of these shots you're showing there, they're all taken from the side of the road. I refuse to trespass. So if it's not a park or a trail, I'm basically standing on the running boards of our truck and shooting from there. And if there are no signs, or if there is a neighbor to ask if it's okay, then I'll approach a property. But otherwise, I'm shooting from the side of the road.
Really? Eh?
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. We don't want to be breaking the law.
I actually enjoy shooting from a moving car. If you're driving back roads, it's pretty easy just to roll the window down. And if you have your shutter speed up high enough and you pan with your landscape, you can get some pictures on the move, and they're pretty good. So
maybe your next career is in the paparazzi.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
There's good money there.
You never know.
Well, hey, it's tough. It's tough to get those shots sometimes.
It is. And shout out to my husband, who's an excellent driver and doesn't mind me yelling at him, wait, pull over.
Is your husband also into photography, or is he just the driver?
He's just the driver.
Oh,
Yeah.
so he's not into it at all, eh?
He likes art. He's
Yeah.
he's a luxury yacht builder. He's a woodworker.
Oh, damn. Okay.
So
All right,
yeah,
now we're
he's
talking.
artistic in his own merits, big time.
So he designs yachts or builds yachts?
Builds them. So someone else
Builds.
designs them, and he's usually the one. He works in fiberglass, and he also works in any of the interior, which is teak or
Wow.
mahogany or anything like that.
These
Yeah.
are the friends I need in my life. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like
We don't have a boat, but
I
you're welcome to
I
watch him come build one.
no. I need some boat friends. I need,
There you
just
go.
like
Yes, I do too. So,
summer's coming. Summer's
yeah,
coming. So
yeah,
well, that's great. I mean, I guess that's also a great way to also get inspired too, just by kind of seeing all the different ideas for like building stuff.
yeah,
Too,
yeah.
I would assume like just like does he get some crazy design sometimes or like
They do, especially if they're retrofitting or restoring an older model.
yeah.
They have to get creative. So
Wow.
yeah, he's had to come up with some out of the box ways to
Problem solved.
put an interior into a yacht. So
Problem
it's
solved.
pretty cool.
That sounds like a cool job.
It is, yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Um. So what are your plans for the summer? Like, do you have any road trips planned for like your photography that you want to do or?
I literally just got back from Renfrew, Arnprior,
Oh yeah.
the Kawarthas, and Shawville, Quebec, and I think we froze again. I'm not sure. And so I'm planning on going back up there for a significant road trip and photograph all of the northern Ontario area, all the way into that part of Quebec.
Damn.
Sorry, did we freeze?
Yeah, a little bit. We're back.
Okay. So I don't know what you caught of that, but
I cut Kawarthas, I think, at the end.
okay. So just went up there and literally took like sketch shots because we were actually up there for another reason.
Yeah.
And so now I'll load all those shots and decide where I actually want to stop. We'll go late spring, early summer,
Yeah.
and take a road trip back up that way. We have family we can stay with, and that part of northern Ontario and getting into that area of Quebec
Yeah.
is so wild looking and so rocky, and you can turn down a boat launch lane and wind up at like all these little lakes that nobody knows about, and get some incredible shots, and nobody's out there except maybe a single, fisherman or something, and they're pretty epic. So I love doing that.
Beautiful. Ontario is a big province.
It really is. Like you
I
could
don't think
go
we
in any
realize how big it
direction.
is. Yeah, and just keep driving, and you just keep driving for days.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you go out Simcoe Way or Niagara Way,
It's just a
there's
big province.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I don't think we really realize it until we actually like drive. It's like, man, like, where are we going? What's happening?
Yeah.
Are we in Alaska yet? Or
You could literally, you could close off your Google Maps and just drive, and you're going to find some pretty incredible stuff, and small town stuff is cool.
Yeah.
Anything like that. So yeah.
Well,
but I would love to get into I'd love to get into Ottawa and Montreal and do some city stuff out there too.
Just keep driving to like the Maritimes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just keep driving.
Yeah.
Some great stuff out there. Yeah, I don't think we really realize how big where we live is sometimes. We always want to go to New York or like Chicago or like Los Angeles. Like we're always thinking about like leaving.
Yeah.
But I don't think we really kind of pay attention to like where we are. It could be like just happens to everyone. Like wherever they live, they want to leave because we live here.
That's right.
It's like a thing. It's like, oh, we have to leave to like find
It's
the
true.
good photos.
Except, and it's so funny because you make the best photos in the places you're the most familiar with,
Yeah,
right?
because you know like how the light goes,
Exactly.
like where the traffic is, like all the little details that you may not know when you go. But for some reason, we always have to leave.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I made that mistake very early on and then realized, oh my goodness, I'm too overwhelmed, visually when I go to new
Yeah,
places.
yeah,
It
you just
means
like
you have to kind of commit to going back over and over
yeah,
again before you really
yeah.
can capture what it is that
Oh,
that's good about it.
how many
So,
times have you said, "Oh, I wish I could go back there because now I know how to finally take good photos." It's like, well,
yeah,
no, you went there because you didn't know what you were doing because you
that's
didn't know where
right.
anything was.
Yeah. It's
You're just like
true.
roaming the streets for 24 hours. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm guilty of it too. I go somewhere, it's like I shoot for 14 hours. At the end of the day, I'm like, I have no idea what I did. I'm
That's right.
tired. I want to go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah, your body's tired and your brain is tired too,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
yeah, I know. Yeah, we gotta shoot what we know,
Mm.
for sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
and there's also something to be said about like refining what you've done.
yes.
Like, say
Yeah.
you've taken a picture of like whatever the CN Tower, or I don't know, Sky Dome, or like the ROM. It's like,
Yeah,
sure, you've taken the photo 1,000 times, but maybe you can refine it to make it just a little bit better.
that's right. Yeah, I've reposted, older images that at the time I thought I processed them well, and then, a couple of years later, you go back to those files and your vision for it is different, right? Or
Oh,
your creative
100%.
your approach is different.
100%.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, I was just listening to a podcast the other day, and what does it say? Yeah, they're talking about like I'm just trying to look it up now. The Japanese word for kaizen, continuous improvement. Yeah, this is what they were talking about.
oh,
I'll bring
that
this up
sounds
to you.
good.
Yeah, because they're talking about like I forgot the conversation. Like martial arts or something. Anyway, long
Okay.
story. Not important.
Yep.
Um, yeah, continuous improvement through its associated with learn and principles.
Okay.
Something like this. Good change or improvement.
Mm,
But just basically going kind of like refining what you're doing instead
yes.
of kind of
Yeah.
like moving on to like the next thing. Like
Yeah.
making whatever you're working on like the best thing possible.
Yes. Because you evolve as an artist, right? Over
Yeah.
time, you're not the same person when you first worked on something. As down the road, now you're different, and
Yeah.
your insight into it is different, and your practices are different. So, therefore,
It's gonna be different.
yeah, you
Yeah.
improve.
Yeah.
But you have to keep doing it. It has to be that daily ritual or weekly ritual, whatever you can manage. Um, you know,
100%.
yeah,
100%. You need some sort of like structure or discipline. You got to almost not treat it like a job, but treat it seriously enough where you're going to actually like go through with whatever you're trying to do. And say,
yeah. That's where that post, when I was talking about
mm,
discipline and devotion,
yeah,
that's why they go hand in hand.
they
The
do.
devotion part of what you love doing causes you to constantly hone your craft, and you do that through discipline by repeating and making sure you're constantly moving forward. And yeah, they go hand in hand every time. So
I really like that post a lot. I think it's very insightful.
thank you.
It should
Thank
be
you.
like on a poster somewhere. I think you should put that on a poster and sell it.
Well, I literally just uh, created a blog page for my website, and
Mm,
I'm pretty sure this will be the first
it
post
should be.
I put up, and I'll
Should be.
probably expand on it
It
um,
should be.
a little bit more
Because
than what I
because it
did.
applies to like anything in life, not just
It
photography.
actually does, yeah,
Not
yeah,
just photography. It could be anything in life, but if
that's
you
right,
that's good. It's a good way to kind of approach it.
yeah.
People, this is why you should be following Christine, just for like insights like this. You know what I mean? Like this is
Thank you so much.
I don't think well because not because like, it's sort of like the anti-Instagram where
Yes,
it kind of makes you stop.
yes.
You know what I mean? So
It's funny because someone asked me, I don't see a lot of comments underneath, and I said,
Mm.
well, I'm okay with that. I prefer to think that people have read that post and then walked away thinking about it.
Yeah, I think honestly, if you really ask people, like, I think not everyone wants to comment. Not everyone feels
Yes.
comfortable commenting,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that they haven't read it.
The internal dialogue
Yeah,
still
it's
is there,
there,
right?
but I
Right?
think not everyone's willing to like put their comment
Yeah.
public,
And
and
I'm
that's okay.
totally okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine. Like to me, it's
I'm
like just because they didn't leave a comment doesn't mean they didn't like what you did.
exactly. Yeah. And
Um,
I think I do it. I want it to go out into the world. And if it helps somebody work on their art, great.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Then that's why I put it there.
yeah. You know what? Sometimes like I would make a video like 3 years ago, and someone would like it happened like last year. It's like, oh, I watched a video from like whatever 2021, and it really helped me. I'm like, huh?
Yes.
They're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what is this person? I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. But for some reason,
Yeah. Yeah.
it just happens out of the blue. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I saw your photo from 5 years ago. It's like, okay.
Yeah. It's super organic and someone
Yeah.
engages with it. And that's fantastic when that happens.
Yeah. Like, like I said before, like everything has its own place. Everything has its own timing. Like you never know who's watching when or who's
That's right.
listening where, or it just takes one person, to
Yeah.
like, which I find, which is, kind of why I do this podcast, because, everyone knows something. Everyone has their own knowledge. Everyone has their own story, background, approach. And I think if you can just sort of like leverage people's knowledge
Yeah. Their experiences can help
and just
inform
like
your
it
own.
could be so simple yet so helpful sometimes with people.
Yeah.
It's like it could be the simplest thing, but even just journaling. Like, okay, maybe I'll try
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
never know. Maybe
Yep.
someone's gonna try that tomorrow, and then maybe this time next year, it's like, oh, I watched your podcast from like last year. It's like really okay.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just never know. Like it's the internet. Like it's the internet. I think,
I know.
like we
It's
said, like
crazy.
we're always used to like, no, this has to get like 1,000 views, and now it's like,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't. Like
Yeah.
you need to like let
No.
it breathe and just kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
push off.
Quality responses. I would 100 times prefer if someone messages me privately and says, you got me thinking about, the next time I work on such and such. And those are the responses I love, because
Yeah.
then you start to build community.
Yes.
I feel like, especially in the greater Toronto area, the photographic community is so generous.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, really generous.
Yeah.
And it didn't used to be that way.
No.
When I first got started, no, everything was very hush hush, keep to yourself.
Interesting.
If you knew stuff, you didn't share because you wanted a leg up on what someone else was doing. It was very competitive when I first started. But I think a generation of photographers now are out there that actually enjoy giving back to the community. And it's fantastic because that's how we all learn and we all grow together.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Why do you think people changed and kind of made the reversal, you think?
You know what? I think it changed with the arrival of social media. I think before social media, you had photographers vying for jobs. Everything was kept under wraps if you were trying to get a job with somebody, or if you're trying to make it somehow in a certain industry. You needed to prove yourself. And I think, social media has its ups and downs, but I think one of the ups was now everything's out there. People want to share. People are saying, hey, look, I'm working on stuff. They get excited, right? So the competitiveness, I think, takes a back seat to, oh my gosh, there's so many other people like me, which you didn't have before. You didn't know how many people were like you before, right? So I think that changes someone's attitude towards what they do.
Yeah. It's kind of like the yearning to like kind of be amongst your peers, I guess,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
just feel like you're in like a
You
safe
belong.
space where, yeah, you belong, or you're kind of like, um, you're not in it alone. Because I think sometimes, like, being like a creator or an artist, it could be a very lonely thing. Sometimes like
Yeah.
it could be very, very isolating. So the fact,
Yeah.
especially these days where it's so easy to like go on Meetup and there's 1,000 groups, um, it
And feel
definitely
like
shifts
you
that
get lost in
perspective.
the shuffle almost.
You do, but I think at the same time, like I think it's good in the way of it kind of gets you out of that mindset of just feeling like alone. It's like, oh,
Yes.
I'm the only one doing this, or I'm the only one that feels this way, or I'm the only one that has these questions. Like, well, in reality, we've all felt that way. In reality, we've all had the same question at one point.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
impossible not to have the question, especially
Yeah.
so something like photography, where it's so technical sometimes. Like, we all had the question of like, okay,
Yep.
well, what's ISO? Okay, well, explain
Yeah.
that to me.
Yeah.
So
Oh, hey, listen. I mean, I've been using cameras now since I was 16, and I always shoot manual.
sure,
But I just watched. I don't know if you saw Sean Tucker's latest
I missed it. Yeah,
YouTube, but
yeah,
he's talking about white balance because
right, exactly.
another artist asked him, why do you never change your white balance?
Mm,
And in all my years shooting, his is the first response that's so simple. He simplifies it so well that I go,
yeah,
oh my gosh, yes, I understand the power of choosing your white balance in a way
yeah,
that I never thought about before.
yeah,
To me, it was just a technical choice, and kind of was, taking it for granted that it was just something I could play with and not
yeah,
intentional. And
yeah.
he talks about it so intentionally, and I immediately, even last weekend, when we were on the road, I was dialing in my preferred white balance
Mm.
setting for the first time and really being intentional about it. And that excited me about my photography again. Like, it's little things, right?
Yeah, it kind of keeps the spark alive.
Yeah.
Where you're kind of
Yeah.
like, again, you're kind of not going through the motion, but you're kind of like like challenging yourself to see what you could do with like a different setting. And again, it could be so
Exactly.
simple like white balance. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
But again, it kind of goes back to like we've all had the same question. Well, what is a white balance? What does that mean? How do you change it? Why do you change it?
Exactly.
And it's good. It's good. I mean, like we're living in like the best time for like photography or being a creator or being an artist or whatever the thing is. Like,
Yeah.
because there's just so much out there for us to like sink our teeth into. There's
Exactly.
just so much out there, and I mean, it could be overwhelming too. But the trick is kind of like I think it's also important to like know what you want too, which I
Yeah.
guess it could be confusing too. Like, do you want it to make a do you want to make a side hustle or part time or full time or like whatever the thing is? Like, what do you
Yeah.
want to do with this thing?
Yeah.
You don't have to make money from it. Like, there's no rule.
No. No, that's right.
It's
Yeah.
like you haven't failed because you haven't made money off it. Maybe you just want to do it because it's fun.
Yeah.
What a shocker that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you mean you
Well,
do it for
that's what I'm
fun?
doing right now. I'm
That's what I
I'm
mean.
kind of letting it organically develop now that I've come back to it,
No,
and I didn't anticipate enjoying writing about it so much. So this
no,
is the new part of my photography journey,
yeah,
and we'll see where that goes. But
yeah,
I'm thoroughly enjoying that new part of it. So
yeah. I always,
that
yeah.
that's exciting.
I find things always happen when you're enjoying it, and you're not
Yeah,
kind of like when you're not expecting something to
that's
happen,
right.
something always happens. I
Yeah,
always find for me,
yeah,
like whenever I'm just doing something for fun,
yeah,
something happens where it's like, okay, well now there's this other opportunity all of a sudden. But
yeah.
I had no expectation of it going
That's right.
anywhere.
Yeah,
So it's a
yeah.
weird universe thing.
It really is. Yeah.
But when I'm trying to like, oh no, this has to like do amazing, or I need to like get this
Yeah.
job, it's
Well,
like it's
even
crickets.
even just meeting you,
Yeah,
um, that was a random
totally random.
whose
Who is this
whose
Paul guy?
Insta story was it? Brian McCown's.
Yeah.
I think I said his last name right.
Yeah, McGowan, yeah.
But I happened to catch his Insta story when he was a guest
Yeah,
here on your
yeah,
podcast,
yeah,
and so I watched a couple episodes and got to um get introduced to a lot of local photographers I didn't know were out there, and they're doing amazing things.
Yeah.
And but it's funny, I wasn't looking to be a part of anything, and
No.
then just by following you, you reached out, and I'm like, okay, wow,
Yeah.
that just come out of
Yeah.
nowhere. So
Yeah.
so much fun. Yeah.
I have an effect on people sometimes. Like Paul, it's like, who? What? Okay? Question mark? What?
But yeah,
Let me do a quick
yeah,
Google search on you first.
that's right.
What's that? Yeah. To me, it's like I think I was saying this last week with Eddie, but like sometimes you almost like if you can just provide a platform for people, I think you'd be surprised about
Mm,
what happens.
yeah,
And it could be
yeah,
anyway. It could be this platform. It could be like a Facebook group. It could be a
that's
meetup group.
right.
It could be any kind of platform out there. But I think if you provide a platform, I think you'd be surprised about who actually comes out and like
Yeah,
connects.
yeah, yeah.
And there's some
That was a good chat, by the way,
with Eddie.
with
Yeah, Eddie's
Eddie.
the
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Manny took some killer eclipse photos. Did you shoot the eclipse?
No, I
Yeah.
didn't even try. I thought, no, there's no way in the world.
No way.
No, no, I just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Enjoyed
Experienced
it
it.
for what it was.
Yeah. You were actually in the moment, eh?
Yes, yeah.
It's cool
Yeah,
for
it
you.
only happens once in a while, right? So
Once in a while. Yeah. Yeah.
and truly, um, I think I just enjoyed seeing other artists capture it.
Yeah.
Um, my feed was full of
People had
shots
some
of the
bangers.
eclipse,
People had
and
some absolute
some
bangers.
of them were just phenomenal, and especially because it wasn't a clear blue sky that day. Like they got some clouds
It
in
had
there
the
that,
drama. It had the drama. It had
oh,
like
it
the
was
Mission
so
Impossible
good.
theme. It had the
So
Mission Impossible theme music. Like, is actually gonna happen?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I really
Yeah.
enjoyed watching other people starting to post.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool in its own right. It was like watching the eclipse all over again. So
Almost. Yeah.
yeah.
No, right.
Yeah.
It's just
But I'm okay with living in the moment
are
sometimes.
you? That's good. It's important. I think it's important sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
think
also knowing your limitations. I mean, I guess I could have tried, but um it's I know I would not have done it justice. So
yeah.
I just decided to enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. I think there's times where you just need to put the camera down and just kind of like be there, you know. Like it's
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that might have been one of those times, but you know, but people had some great shots,
Oh
so
my gosh,
that's still
yes.
gotta still see it, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's good. It's good. Well, I mean, we're slowly up against the hour, so did you want to speak about anything else? Maybe do you want to shout out your website or like how people can find that or
It is Christine Duncan at pixpa.com.
okay, I think I actually have it here. We'll just pull that up. And I think it's great that you have a website because not everyone has a website.
I literally just threw it together.
Did you? Jeez. Okay.
So new stuff will be going up every week, and like I said,
Yeah.
I've got a page there waiting for me to post my first blog post called The Creative Dilemma. That'll be my blog.
Creative dilemma.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna like? What the topic's gonna be? You think?
All about creative process.
Mm.
Yeah, covering the gamut of whatever kind of internal dialogue I've been having that week. I'll post about it.
Like
So,
it.
yeah.
Have you read Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act?
No, I
You
haven't,
should
and
read
it's
that.
on my to-read
You
list.
need to read that book.
He's phenomenal.
You really need to read. I have the book here. You really, it's a good read.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a good read. He has a
yeah.
funny story because he was asked about like writing a book, and they wanted him to write a book about like his stories with like bands.
Right.
Like that's boring. Let me write a story
Yes.
about like being creative.
Yeah, no,
So
he's
funny.
phenomenal.
So funny. He's an artist.
Yes. Oh,
Like,
for sure.
and like, yeah, he has some good advice too. But yeah, you should read that book. It's quite good.
I will.
There's some good nuggets in there.
I will. You're not the first to say. So, yeah, I'll have to go get myself a copy right now.
Yeah, the creative act versus the creative dilemma.
The Creative Dilemma. I'll be using that hashtag a lot, I guess, on social media.
Should be. Should be.
Because there is we all have this back and forth when we're working on our art, right? We have these
Yeah.
conversations with ourselves. It could be about anything. It could be about, you know, am I capturing the light right? To, you know, has everybody already seen all of this before? Is my take going to be unique enough?
Yeah.
Um,
We all have the same thoughts though. That's the thing.
yeah, yeah.
I don't
So
think people realize that sometimes.
yeah. So I think to put it out there, then people go, oh, wait a minute, other people are thinking these things too.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Yeah. And I don't think you ever really make it.
No.
I don't think you ever really make it. Like
Yeah.
even if you get successful, like I think there's always that part of you. It's like, well, no, I need to
I
work
need to keep
harder.
going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you never really. I don't know. To me, it's like you never really make it. I don't know. That's just my
Yeah.
personal. That's my personal opinion on it, but I could be
Yeah.
wrong. But you know.
The art is never done. Is it? We always,
Yeah, like there's
there's
always
room for
something to.
more.
Like there's always. It's not like you're building a plane where the plane is done. It's
That's
like
right.
you're always building. You're always building the plane. Like there's always
Yeah.
some. Keep
Yeah.
going. It's, oh,
Yeah. Everybody's got something else to give. There's
yeah.
still something to give. Yeah.
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 Interesting. Well, thanks very much, Christine, for coming on. I really enjoyed the
Well,
chat.
thank you for having
Love to have you
me.
back on at some point.
Yeah. 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 When
Dive
my
into the creative
screen
dilemma.
behaves itself next time.
Come on, screen. Come on. No,
It's
it's all good.
typical. It's fine.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Any final words, tips, tricks, advice?
You know what? Immerse yourself in all different kinds of art. It's
I like
I
that. It's
say
good.
it a lot because you don't you're limited to what's informing who you are as an artist if you don't.
Yeah,
So, you know,
really good insight.
look up masters of the art world. Look up, you know,
Mhm.
who started out in different kinds of photography. Go back through history and look at who was pivotal. And I mean, a lot of these people didn't even gain any notoriety until they were long gone.
Yeah,
And someone with a passion found their work and went, okay, this is notable, we need to show it to people.
yeah,
So yeah, the learning doesn't stop. Just don't limit yourself to your own medium and following only those people that do what you do. Like, get out there and really see who's out there making cool art. And what resonates with you is what you need to take note of and go, why does that resonate with me? Because that's part of who you are.
yeah. It's really good insight.
Thank you.
Jeez. Okay. That's a great way to end off. And thanks again, Christine.
Thank you.
Christine's links are in the description. Make sure you give her a follow on Instagram and
Would love to see you.
give her a thumbs up. Thanks everyone for watching, listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.